Hi and welcome to our next YouTube tutorial. In this video we're going to be building an iPhone 12 3D cube with HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Before we start to build our project, I'm going to say a special and huge thank you to Skillshare for helping our channel by sponsoring this video. Skillshare is an online platform and community for courses on all kinds of topics. It makes education available and accessible for anyone who wants to learn something new or just level up the skills. You can take the courses by watching videos and then practice what you have learned by making your own class projects by using your new skills and knowledge. Skillshare offers thousands of great classes on topics like illustration, graphic design, web development, music production, photography and much more. It is a place where millions of students come together to take the next step in their creative journey. Skillshare members get unlimited access to thousands of inspiring classes, hands-on projects and feedback from a community of millions for a very affordable price at less than $10 a month annually. I'm excited to tell you that the first 1,000 people who will use the link in the description will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership. So you'll be able to get access to all different classes on the platform, learn some new stuff, and develop your skills that can be applied in real life, so join up. Alright, so before we dive deeper into the project, I would like to mention that this project is a part of our brand new Udemy course called 10 Mega Responsive Websites with HTML, CSS and JavaScript. In this course we are going to build 10 different responsive websites based on HTML, CSS and JavaScript, so you will get a huge practice in those three core technologies. We already have a couple of videos about building responsive websites on our YouTube channel. Some of them are included in our new Udemy course, but besides that we build several new responsive websites that are not here on YouTube. And this project, I mean the iPhone 12 Cube, is a part of a new Apple e-commerce website from our new Udemy course. I will leave the links in the description with some discounts, so you can enroll in the course and enjoy. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump right into the project. So as we said, it's going to be the 3D cube created based on HTML, CSS and JavaScript. I'm going to call it the cube. Actually, in real math it is called cuboid, but for simplicity I'm going to call it the cube. So as you can see, it has a 3D shape. By default it is rotating. Down below we have controllers, I mean those arrows. Once we hover over them, then cube will stop and then we will be able to rotate it using those controllers on different sides. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. I've created a new folder on the desktop called Cube, in which I have another folder for the images. Let's go ahead and open this folder in VS Code and create our working files for HTML, CSS and JavaScript. I'm going to call them index.html, style.css and script.js. Then open the HTML file and create a basic HTML document. For that I'm going to use Emmet. We have to place here an exclamation mark and then we have to press tab or enter. So here we go. We have here the basic HTML tags. Let's go ahead and at first change the title. I'm going to insert here cube. Then I'm going to link the CSS and JavaScript files. For that I'm going to open link tag in the head element and then we have to specify the path of the file, I mean the name of the file. As for the JavaScript, I'm going to open script tag right above the closing body tag and in the source attribute let's specify the path of the file. Alright, so the files are connected. Next I'm going to bring in one more link for the Phone Awesome icons. Let's go ahead and search for Phone Awesome CDN.js. Then grab the link from here, open the link tag in the head elements and paste the link as the value of the href attribute. Alright, so we're ready to start to build the project. Let's run the project to the browser. For that I'm going to use one of the VS Code packages called Live Server. It allows us to run the project live to the browser and make updates and changes without refreshing the page. Let's place the editor and the browser side by side. like so, and get started. I'm going to start to create the HTML markup of the cube. Let's go ahead and open a div tag, which is going to be the container. Next, open another div elements, which is going to be the wrapper of the cube. So I'm going to assign to it class cube wrapper. Then open again div tag with the class cube. Next, we need another div, which is going to be the front side of the cube, and it will include an image of the iPhone 12. So let's assign to it class front side, and then insert here image elements. Let's specify here the path of the image. Okay, next we need to create backside. So let's open div tag with the class backside. And then I'm going to pass here font awesome icon. So let's assign to iElement classes FAB, FA, Apple. Alright, so that's it about the markup of the cube. We will take care of the controls a little bit later, because right now I'm going to style the cube. Let's open the CSS file and get started. First of all, I'm going to create a couple of common and default styles. Let's select all the elements using an asterisk. At first, I'm going to get rid of default margin and padding from every element. So let's go ahead and set both of them to 0. Then I'm going to make box sizing border box. Also get rid of default underline from the link elements using text decoration none. And then change the font family. I'm going to use here font called Arial sans serif. Alright, so the common styles are prepared. Next I'm going to take care of the measurement units. Throughout this project I'm going to use rem as the measurement unit. Right now 1 rem equals 16 pixels because the font size of the HTML element equals 16 pixels. I'm going to convert 1 rem into 10 pixels, and for that we have to decrease the font size of the HTML element. Let's set it to 62.5%. So right now 1 rem will be equal to 10 pixels. Okay, after that let's go ahead and select the container. I'm going to expand it to the entire page, so let's set width to 100%. As for the height, I'm going to make it 100% of the viewport. And besides that, I'm going to set image as the full screen background. So let's specify here the path of the image. We need bg.png. Then I'm going to define the position as center. Also we need no repeat. And then I'm going to set the size of the background to cover. Okay, so here we have the full screen background image. Next I'm going to place the cube in the center, and for that let's use flexbox. I'm going to set display to flex, and then in order to center the element horizontally and vertically, I'm going to use justify content center and align items center. So as you can see, the cube is placed perfectly in the center. After that I'm going to select the cube itself and define its width and height. I'm going to set width to 30 rem. As for the height, let's make it 55 rem. And also I'm going to assign to it a temporary background color. Let's set it to red. Okay, so right now the image is too big, so let's take care of it. First of all, I'm going to select the front side, which is the parent element. Let's set its width and height, both of them to 100%, and also create some space inside of the front side. Let's set padding to 2.5 rem. After that, I'm going to select the image. Let's define its width and height. I'm going to set both of them to 100%. And besides that, I'm going to use object fit with the value contain. Okay, so now the image became smaller. Next, I'm going to take care of the front side. Let's change its background color. I'm going to make it FEE. And now I'm going to create a 3D environment in order to see better how the cube is going to be built. In order to create a 3D environment, we have to use one of the properties called perspective, and we have to assign it to the cube wrapper. Let's select cube wrapper and assign to it perspective with value 100 rem. So in general, the property perspective defines how far the element is away from the user. Now we have to move the front side in a 3D environment, and for that we need 3D space for the front side as well. And for that we have to use one of the properties called transform style with the value preserve 3D, and we have to assign it to the cube. So after that it will share the 3D environment for its child element. Okay, after that we have to move the front side a little bit to the front. So for that let's use transform, and then we need translate function, in this case with z direction. Let's insert here 5 rem. So right now nothing is visible here, we have just a white background, and in order to see clearly what's going on, I'm going to rotate the cube. Let's rotate it according to the y axis, and as the value let's insert here 70 degrees. Alright, now you can see clearly the front side of the cube in 3D space. Let's go ahead and take care of the back side. Let's select it, and first of all define its width and height. I'm going to set both of them to 100% and also change the background color. Let's set it to FEE, and besides that I'm going to move the back side using transform translate Z with value -5 rem. So here we have the back side, but its position is not quite correct. We need to fix that, and for that let's set the positions of both sides to absolute. As you can see, the most of the properties and values are the same for both sides, so we can add here back side, then select the front side separately. Let's assign to it padding and transform properties. As for the back side, let's leave here just transform property. Okay, so now both sides look good. In order to see better, I'm going to inspect the page and use the Elements tab. Let's select the cube. Then down below, focus the value of the rotate function. And then using an upper arrow, let's change the value. So as you can see, the cube is rotating and everything looks good. Okay, before we move on to other sides, I'm going to customize the Apple icon on the back side. First of all, let's take care of the position of the icon. I'm going to place it in the center of the back side. For that, I'm going to use Flexbox. Actually, we need to use the same properties and values that we used for the container. So in order to avoid writing the same code over and over again, I'm going to create a new class in the common styles. Let's call it center. And assign to it display flex, justify content center, align item center. Then I'm going to get rid of these properties from here. We have to assign the class center to the container and the backside as well. Okay, actually let's change the value of the rotate function in order to see the icon better. So I'm going to set it to 140 degrees. And now let's go ahead and style the icon. Select eye element. First of all, let's increase its font size, make it 12 rem. Then change the color, make it 6E, DAE6. And also use text shadow. I'm going to create multi-level shadow. So let's insert here 0.1 rem twice, then 0.2 rem, and the color AAA. I'm going to copy those values and paste them here. I'm going to change the first two values. I'm going to insert here minus sign. Okay, so the icon is styled, but as you can see, we have to rotate it. So let's use transform. With the rotate function, we need Y direction, and we have to rotate the icon by 180 degrees. Okay, that's it about the back side. Now we have to take care of other sides. Next, let's take care of the top and bottom sides, and we will create them using before and after pseudo elements. First of all, I'm going to rotate the cube in a kind of different way in order to display both sides. So let's change rotate Y into rotate X. As for the value, let's insert here 91 degrees. So right now the bottom side is close to us, and I'm going to take care of the top side. We'll create it using the before pseudo element. So let's select front side, followed by the before pseudo element. First of all, let's define content, make it empty. Then I'm going to set width to 100%. As for the height, let's make it 10 rem. And also change the background color, make it FEE. So right now the element is not visible, we have to define its position. Let's set position to absolute. And then I'm going to set top and left properties, both of them to 0. Okay, as you can see, still the element is not visible. It happens because the 3D environment is not shared for the before pseudo element. And in order to fix that, we have to use again transform style with the value preserve 3D, and we have to assign it to the parent element. Then down below, rotate the element according to x-axis by -90 degrees. So now the element is visible, but it's not placed quite correctly because it is rotated according to the center. It is the default origin of the transformation, so we have to change it and make it top. Alright, so that's it about the top side. Let's move on and take care of the bottom side. Actually, most of the properties and values will be the same for both sides, so I'm going to add here after pseudo element. Then select the before pseudo element separately. Grab those 4 properties and paste them here. Then I'm going to duplicate this code, change before into after, and also instead of the top we need bottom. Besides that, we need here 90 degrees instead of -90 degrees. As for the transform origin, it's going to be bottom. Okay, so if we rotate the cube, then you will see that top and bottom sides are ready. Let's move on and take care of the left and right sides. I'm going to create them using before and after pseudo elements of the back side. So let's rotate again the cube according to the y-axis with the value -91 degrees. We will create those sides similarly. Let's start with the left side. I'm going to create using the before pseudo element. Let's select it. And first of all, define the content. I'm going to insert here iPhone. Then set width to 10 rem. As for the height, let's make it 100%. And also change the background color, use FEE. So right now the left side is not visible because again we need to use the positions and rotate function. So let's set position to absolute and then define top and left properties, make both of them 0. And also we need transform, rotate Y -90 degrees. So now the element is visible, but again we have to change the origin of the transformation. We need to set it to left. Alright, so now the element is positioned and we have to take care of its content. I mean the text iPhone. First of all, let's rotate again the cube. Let's get rid of the minus sign from here. And now I'm going to customize the text. I'm going to place it in the center. For that, let's use display flex. Justify content center and align items center. So in case of the before pseudo element, we cannot use physically the class center. Next, I'm going to change the font size, make it 2 rem, and also set color to EC1919. Alright, that's it about the left side. Now in the same way we have to create the right side, which is going to be similar to the left one. So I'm going to add here after pseudo element. Then select before pseudo element separately and grab those 4 lines from here. Then I'm going to duplicate this code. Change before into after. Then instead of left, we need right. Also, let's get rid of minus sign from here and change the transform origin, make it right. Okay, so that's it about the cube. All sides are prepared. If I rotate it according to both directions, I mean vertically and horizontally, then you will see that all sides are created. Now I'm going to get rid of the red background color from the cube. And besides that, I'm going to create a box shadow in order to display the edges of the sides. Let's at first create the shadow for the front and back sides. We need here inner shadow, so let's insert here inset with the values 0.1 rem 3 times and the color DDD. Let's copy those values and add minus sign to the first 2 values. We need the same shadow for the before and after pseudo elements as well, so let's grab this code and paste it. So let's rotate again the cube. As you can see, everything looks good. Next, I'm going to customize the controls and make the cube work. Alright, so the cube is customized. Now I'm going to take care of the controls. Let's go ahead and create an HTML markup. The controls will be a part of the cube wrapper. So let's open the div element with the class controls. Overall, we will have 6 different controls. They will be represented by the font awesome icons and they will be wrapped with the link elements. So let's open a tag and assign to it class top X control. Then insert here I element with the classes FAS, FA, arrow, up. Okay, so as we said, we will have 6 arrows. So let's duplicate the link element 5 times and then change the class names. The second one is going to be bottom X control. As for the font awesome icon, we need arrow down. Then we will have left Y control, arrow left. Next one is going to be right Y control and arrow right. Then we need top Z control, arrow down. And the last one is going to be bottom Z control, arrow up. Okay, so here we have our controls. Let's go ahead and customize them. Let's select the wrapper div element. First of all, I'm going to take care of the position of controls. Let's set its position to absolute. Actually, the controls should be positioned according to the parent element, which in this case is a cube wrapper. You may think that we need a position relative for the wrapper, but because of that it is a flex item. As you remember, the container element has display flex. Then we no longer need position relative for the cube wrapper because the controls will be positioned according to the cube wrapper. So let's set bottom position to -15 rem. Then we need left position let's set it to 50%. And then in order to center the element horizontally, we need transform with translate x function and with the value minus 50%. Okay, so the controls are positioned correctly. Let's move on and customize the wrapper. I'm going to set width and height, both of them to 10 rem. And then change the background color. I'm going to use here RGBA value. Let's insert here black color with the opacity 0.9. Okay, after that I'm going to make the background rounded and also create the border. Let's set border radius to 50%. As for the border, I'm going to make it 1 rem, solid, and as the color, let's use again RGBA value with the same color but with the opacity 0.8. Alright, that's it about the wrapper. Actually, we need some space between the cube and controls, so let's go ahead and move the cube up. I'm going to set its position to relative and then use top position, make it minus 4 rem. So in case of position relative, the element will move up by 4 rem from its current position. Okay, let's go ahead and customize the arrows. First of all, let's take care of their positions. Let's select the link element and set its position to absolute. Next, I'm going to define the position for each arrow separately. So let's start from the first link element. I'm going to select it using nth child selector. We have to specify here 1. This arrow is going to be placed in the center at the top of the wrapper. So let's set its top position to 0. Also we need left position. Let's set it to 50%. And in order to center the element, let's use transform, translate x with value minus 50%. Okay, so the first arrow is positioned, but right now it is not quite visible. So let's go ahead and fix that problem. I'm going to select I element. Let's change the font size, make it 1.5 rem. Then I'm going to change the color. Let's set it to 6EDAE6. And also I'm going to decrease the opacity. Let's make it 0.5. Okay, now it looks much better. Let's position the second arrow. It's going to be placed in the center but at the bottom of the wrapper. So let's duplicate this code. We need here second arrow and I'm going to set bottom position to 0. Okay, let's move on and position the third arrow. It's going to be placed in the center but on the left side of the wrapper. So we need here third arrow. Then I'm going to set top position to 50%. Left is going to be 0. And also we need here translate but with Y direction and with the same value. The next arrow will be placed in the center as well but on the right side. We need here 4 and we have to set right position to 0. Okay, so 4 arrows are positioned so far. There are left just 2 of them. Let's move on and select the 5th arrow. It's going to be placed in the middle of those 2 arrows. So we need top and right positions, both of them set to 10%. As for the transform property, we need to use it with rotate function with the value 45 degrees. Okay, so we need to position the last icon. Let's duplicate this code here. Change top into bottom. And also we need left instead of right. Alright, so all 6 arrows are ready. The only thing that we need to do is to create a little hover effect. I'm going to increase the opacity of the icons back to 1. So let's select A with hover, followed by the I element. And set opacity to 1. Besides that, I'm going to use transition with opacity and the duration 0.5 seconds. Okay, that's it. The controls are customized and now we have to make them work. First of all, I'm going to make the cube rotating automatically. and then we will program the controls. Right now the cube is rotated with Y direction by 91 degrees. So I'm going to comment this line out, then go to the JavaScript file and select the cube. I'm going to create new variable, let's call it cube, and then select element using query selector method. We have to specify the class name inside of the parentheses. So we will rotate the cube according to the y-axis by 1 degree, and we will rotate it with very little intervals, I mean just 100 milliseconds. So I'm going to create a new function, let's call it play pose. Then we need to use a method called setInterval. As you know, it takes two arguments. The first one is a callback function, which will be executed with some intervals. As for the second one, it's the amount of the interval itself. So let's pass here 100 as the second argument. So now we have to rotate the cube according to the y-axis. We need to use the style property followed by the transform. And now we have to specify the value of the rotate function. As we said, we need to rotate the cube by 1 degree after each interval. In order to do that, at first I'm going to create a new variable. I'm going to use let declaration. Let's call the variable y and make it equal to 0. And now we have to pass here rotate y function. So after each interval we need to increase the values by 1. So we need here y with the increment operator, which is expressed by double plus signs followed by the degrees. Now let's call the function. So as you can see, the cube is rotating. If we check the cube in the elements tab, you will see that after each 100 milliseconds the value of the rotate function increases by 1. Right now the rotation effect doesn't look quite good because we need to use transition, so let's assign it to the cube with the values transform and the duration 0.5 seconds. Alright, so now as you can see we have a much better and smooth effect. Next I'm going to take care of the controls. Actually we will use a similar technique. We will rotate the cube in different directions, but in this case we will do that once we click the controls. So let's go ahead and attach to each arrow the event listener with the click event. Let's go ahead and start with the top control. We need to attach a click event to the link elements. So let's select top X control using query selector method and attach to it event listener with click event and also with the callback function, which will be executed once we click the top control. So once we click it, we need to rotate the cube with X direction. So I'm going to grab this line of code from here, then change Y into X. Here we don't need plus because we're going to increase the value not by 1 but by 20 degrees. So we can write here either X equals X plus 20. In this case the value will increase by 20 on each click, or we can simply write here plus equals sign. Those expressions are the same. Besides that, we need to create a new variable. Let's call it X and make it equal to 0. Actually, before we program all controls, I'm going to pause this function for a while in order to see the results better. So if we click the top control, then the cube will rotate with X direction by 20 degrees. Okay, let's go ahead and do the same for bottom control. Let's duplicate this code, then change the top into the bottom. And also instead of the plus sign we need here minus, because we need to rotate the cube in the opposite direction. Okay, so everything works fine. Let's move on and program the left control. Let's duplicate this code once again. We need here left Y control. also change the direction, we need y-axis. So now if I click the left control, then the cube will rotate, but we have here a little issue. If we click the left arrow and then we click the top control, at first the cube will get its default position and then it will rotate. We don't need that, we need to maintain the previous position of the cube, and in order to do that we need to define all three directions no matter which direction we are changing. So we need to add here rotate y with y degree, and then we need the same for the z direction, rotate z with z degree. And also we have to create a variable for the z direction. Let's set it to 0. Okay, let's add the rotate functions here as well. We need rotate x and rotate z. Okay, so now everything works perfectly. Let's go ahead and take care of the rest of the controls. Let's duplicate this code, change left into right, and also instead of the minus sign we need here plus. So the right control works fine. Let's move on and program those two arrows. So we need here top Z control. So in this case we need to rotate the cube with Z direction. So I'm going to leave here just Y. As for the rotate Z function, we need here minus equals 20. Okay, so this control works good. Let's move on and take care of the last one. Let's duplicate this code, change top into bottom, and also instead of the minus sign, let's insert here plus. Alright, so all the controls work perfectly. We are almost done with the cube. We just need to add to it a couple of more things. Let's get rid of comment from here. As you see, transform property has just the rotate y function here, so we need to add here other directions as well, otherwise the cube won't work properly. So I'm going to insert here rotate x and then rotate z. Alright, so now everything works fine. The only thing that I'm going to do is to stop the cube from rotating once we hover over the controls. For that we need to create a new variable which will have the boolean value. Let's call it bool and set it to true by default. So now we need to create an if-else statement inside of the function, and as a condition I'm going to insert here bool. So if this condition is true, then we have to run this function, and if it is false, we need an else statement in which we have to stop executing this function using the clear interval method. So in order to clear the interval, at first we need to store it into the variable, and then we have to pass this variable into the clear interval function. So let's create a new variable. In this case I'm going to declare it without any value, then store setInterval function into this variable, and finally pass it into the clear interval function in the else statement. So right now everything works fine, cube is rotating, but if we change the value of the bool variable and assign to it false by default, then the cube will stop rotating. Okay, let's get back here true. Now we need to use the mouse over event. Let's go ahead and select controls using again query selector method. Then I'm going to attach to it event listener with mouse over event, and also pass here the callback function. So once we mouse over the controls, then we have to stop rotating. Therefore, we have to set bool to false. And also we need to call again the function in order to clear the interval and stop rotating. So now if I hover over the controls, the cube will stop rotating. But once we mouse out, then it won't continue rotating. So we need to fix that. Let's go ahead and duplicate this code and change the event. We need mouse out. And also instead of the false value, we need here true. Okay, so now everything works perfectly. The only thing that I'm going to do is to change the value of the y variable, because once we reload the page, I want the cube to be slightly rotated at the starting point. And besides that, we need to change this value from CSS by default. Let's get back here, transform, rotate, and add here rotate functions with X and Z directions. And also I'm going to make the value of the rotate Y function 20 degrees. Okay, actually we are done. But I see that the top control doesn't work perfectly. Let's check the JavaScript code. So as you see, I forgot to add here different directions. We have here just the X direction. So let's go ahead and fix that. We need to insert here rotate Y. And then rotate Z. Okay, so that's it. We have finished working on the cube. I hope it was interesting and you learned some new stuff. Again, I want to remind you that it's the part of our new course on Udemy, so you can check it out. You will find lots of other different and interesting stuff there. If you like this video, please thumbs up, comment below, share it, subscribe to our channel, and click the bell to get notified on coming tutorials. See you next time.